You're watching the Daily Climate Show on Sky News. On today's programme, how swift action to cut methane pollution would rapidly reduce the rate of global warming. Why the Science Museum is facing criticism for its controversial sponsor of a new climate exhibition. And the Indonesian eco-warrior turning central Java's mountains green. Hello and welcome to the UK's only daily climate news show, where we track the changes happening to our world right now and meet those coming up with the solutions. We aim to take you to the heart of the climate crisis, explain the data driving the changes that are already affecting us, but also show you just how far we've come. Now, when we talk about global warming, there's usually a big focus on one greenhouse gas in particular, carbon dioxide. But it's far from the only reason that our planet is heating up. Well, our science correspondent, Thomas Moore, is here with me. So, Thomas, tell us more.
Well, we're not going to keep global warming below 1.5 degrees unless we dramatically cut emissions of another greenhouse gas, methane. That's the conclusion of the United Nations Environment Programme. In a new report, it says methane is 10 times more powerful than carbon dioxide at trapping heat in the atmosphere. Yet levels have more than doubled since pre-industrial times. So where's it all coming from? Well, the report says human activity accounts for around 380 million tonnes of methane being released every year. Agriculture, mainly livestock and rice cultivation, accounts for 40%. But fossil fuels and waste, including landfill, are also significant sources. The good news is that existing solutions could reduce methane emissions from human activity by 45% by 2030. That's 180 million tonnes a year.
So, Thomas, what are some of those solutions that you were talking about there?
Well, you could manage coal mines better, you could detect leaks in gas pipes, you could reduce food and organic waste going to landfill, you could cut down on the amount of meat you're eating and also grow rice more sustainably. Action now in the 2030s could reduce the rise in global temperatures by 0.3 of a degree by the 2040s, so it's quite significant.
And all this is about keeping that temperature rise down, isn't it?
Yes, you can see the numbers just ticking up the whole time, can't you? And it's rare that we have a win-win when we're talking about the climate. But this is good for the planet, it's good for our health, it's good for the economy too. And remember that this is swift and significant, holding down those temperature rises. One scientist has said, if we're talking about trying to meet those Paris climate goal targets of 1.5 degrees, you need to use every climate trick in the book, and on page 1 should be methane emissions.
Thomas, thank you. And on this week's Climate Cast, we're talking carbon emissions, from how much the Amazon rainforest absorbs to the role of our oceans in tackling climate change. That's available from tomorrow, wherever you normally get your podcasts from. And now, in today's other climate news, Boris Johnson has told a meeting of ministers from 35 countries that the UK is doing everything it can to make the COP26 climate summit in November a success. The Prime Minister said the conference, being held in Glasgow, needs to produce concrete action, otherwise there's no chance of keeping our planet cool. More than a quarter of the world's total greenhouse emissions came from China in 2019, exceeding combined emissions from the developed world for the first time. Research from US-based think tank the Rhodium Group said China was responsible for more than 14 gigatons of CO2. That's triple its level in 1990. China has vowed to bring total emissions down from 2030 and be carbon neutral by 2060. The Royal Botanic Gardens Kew are encouraging people to reconnect with nature this summer with The Secret World of Plants, celebrating British biodiversity. It features large-scale immersive plantscapes representing contrasting landscapes from across the UK, from moorlands to sand dunes. Conservationists in Chile are reintroducing the rhea to its native home in the Patagonia region, where the flightless bird is almost extinct because of illegal hunting. Rhea's largely vegetarian diet makes them an essential part of the ecosystem, helping distribute seeds through the region. Last month, 14 rheas were released into Patagonia's national park by Tompkins Conservation, who are aiming to get 100 adults into the wild. And scientists in the US have found an eco-friendly way to cut the grass. A group from the University of California are ditching traditional lawn mowers and instead they're allowing sheep to graze on campus lawns. They're hoping using the four-legged lawn mowers will lower emissions and increase biodiversity in the area. Now, in 2 weeks' time, the Science Museum's newest exhibition will open and it's all about carbon capture. But climate activists are calling for people to boycott it. And that's because oil company Shell is the major sponsor of the exhibition, something many of those who've contributed to the exhibits aren't happy about. Our climate correspondent Lisa Holland reports.
London's Science Museum is preparing to reopen after lockdown, with the UK's first exhibition on capturing carbon. The main attraction is a future climate solution. A full-scale mechanical tree brought over from America, it replicates how trees naturally soak up carbon dioxide. It's widely accepted that technology to capture carbon and store it will be needed for the UK to get to net zero by 2050. But amongst some contributors, like the climate scientist involved in this display on capturing carbon in woodlands, the excitement of taking part has been overshadowed by learning the exhibition is being sponsored by the oil company Shell.
On the one hand, I want to support the exhibition and the key messages of the exhibition, but then on the other hand, I don't want to be associated with sponsorship by big oil companies.
The museum has defended its choice of sponsors.
Actually, we keep complete editorial control of our exhibitions, no matter the sponsor. So no sponsor is ever involved in the exhibition per se.
Shell says its target is to become a net zero emissions energy business by 2050, and it has a long-standing relationship with the Science Museum, which is planning to open the exhibition in 2 weeks' time. Lisa Holland, Sky News, Central London.
New research by the Royal College of Psychiatrists has found 2/3 of people in the UK say climate issues are affecting their mental health, and 84% think it'll have an impact in 10 years' time. So, how can we care for the planet and our mental well-being? Well, Professor Lorraine Whitmarsh is an environmental psychologist at the University of Bath and joins me now. Welcome to you. So, just how big a problem do you think that climate anxiety is?
I think it is something which we don't know very much about, to be honest. We do know that the majority of the public say that they are very concerned about climate change, but the percentage that say that it's something which is impacting on their quality of life in significant ways, for example, not being able to sleep or disruption to work, is extremely low. Actually, we're seeing that a lot of people that do express concern about climate change tend to channel that into doing something positive about the environment. So actually, it's not always necessarily a problem, I think.
And to what extent do you think these are generalised concerns about the future of the planet, or are they more specific? People worrying, say, that their local area could flood in the future, or they could be subject to more droughts?
I think what we've found is that generally it tends to be a rather more abstract concern. People are worried about various aspects of climate change, but in the UK at least, it tends to be an issue which people think will affect people in other countries and future generations more than themselves personally. So I think it is probably a bit more of an abstract concern for the majority of people at the moment.
But clearly it is an issue. So what would your advice be to anyone who is worried about the environment, who has climate anxiety?
I mean, I think people who say that it is significantly affecting their mental health obviously have to probably seek help with that. I mean, I think that there aren't many people for whom it is a significant disruption, but if that is causing them a great deal of anxiety, they can get medical support. But I think what we generally advocate is that the more people can look into ways in which they can do their bit to actually help address climate change, the more they can join up with like-minded people, join groups that are taking action on climate change and get social support and also feel part of a collective effort to take action, the more they're likely to feel that they aren't helpless actually in terms of what climate change, the impacts that it's going to have. So I think sort of channeling that anxiety into positive action is generally something that we would recommend.
Professor Lorraine Whitmarsh, thanks very much indeed. Now, in the latest of our series of climate diaries, we hear the story of 69-year-old Sadiman from Indonesia. Over nearly 25 years of hard work, he succeeded in turning the previously barren hills around central Java green, providing water for local communities in the process.
Dan usaha saya menggarap lahan hutan.
Dianggap masyarakat orang gila, tapi hasilnya sekarang mendapatkan air buat mencukupi berapa desa.
Awal-awal itu Mas, gunung itu kebakaran Mas, terus airnya mati, terus saya mempunyai greget itu kalau tidak saya tanam beringin daerah ini daerah gersang itu loh Mas.
Buat beli bibit zaman dulunya begitu dia.
Mudah-mudahan masyarakat sini bisa subur, makmur, dan jangan sekali-kali membakar hutan.
That's all for today. On the Daily Climate Show tomorrow, how you can help save Britain's only spiny mammal under threat because of our changing climate. You can catch that tomorrow here on Sky News at 6:30 and 9:30 and on our social channels. Thanks for watching. See you then.